All right, Mr. John Faucett, you are running for sheriff against the incumbent Jeff Ward. I want to start out with a little information about you, though.
Okay.
How long have you been here in Clinton County?
I've been in Clinton County all my life. I'm a lifelong resident. I did move out when I started to work for the Indiana State Police. And then I resided over in Carmel in Fishers, bounced between those two areas for about 3 or 4 years. And then I moved back over here, and then I maintained a residence over there when I worked for the Indianapolis Colts as well. So
Got it. How long were you with the Colts?
I was with the Colts for 7 years.
Very cool. And where did you go to school?
I went to Frankfurt and then Indiana University.
Okay. Very cool. And why did you decide to get into politics in this particular election?
This particular election, or well,
In the race for sheriff, why do you want to run for sheriff?
I feel that there's more things that can be done. I ran last time around 3 years ago, and there was things that I campaigned on, and I haven't seen those fulfilled yet, and I'd like to see them fulfilled. I almost think that I'd be letting down my supporters, friends and family, and people who voted for me the last time, and people who wanted to vote for me, but they were committed to someone else at the time. I kind of got in a little late, but I have a lot of ideas, things that I've accomplished out in Kirklin that I'd like to do on a grander scale for the county. And I mean, the Kirklin crime rate and speed rate through town has significantly dropped since I've been out there.
Got it. Now, one of the things that I've heard you mention before is that the current sheriff's administration is a bit more reactive than proactive, and that you'd like to foster more of a proactive law enforcement approach. What would you propose be done in Clinton County that Sheriff Ward isn't currently doing?
I would start a CRT team, and that's a crime reduction team. These are, a lot of the bigger cities do these. They have guys that will not be typical run takers, go out and take calls, that they go out and they're looking for people who are on warrants, drug intelligence that's passed down to either drug task force or something like that. And that's all they do. They go out and they hammer these people that we know is bad in society. It's just, when guys are out on patrol, sometimes they just don't always get the opportunity to do crime reduction stuff. And that's what I'm about. I think that the focus needs to be on here in Frankfurt, because this is the heart of the problem. You got drugs coming into this community, you got money coming into this community, and they're going out as well. I just feel that if you got someone out on I-65, yeah, you might get lucky and get a pinch here and there, but is it really coming here? I think that the problem is here in Frankfurt, and I think that's what we need to concentrate on.
Got it. So what does that look like then in Clinton County? If you do establish a crime reduction team, is that, I think that you've mentioned that's a joint force with the Frankfurt police, correct?
Right. Yeah, I would seek out, cooperation with the chief of police. My understanding is they're low on manpower. The sheriff's office is low on manpower, but there are certain individuals that could be taken away from other duties to concentrate on a unit such as that with Bill Hackard. He's the drug guy here in Frankfurt. I've talked to him a couple of different times. We've collaborated on different things that have been going on in the county, intelligence and so forth. And I think he's a really great guy for this community. And I can't really speak highly enough for him. He's dedicated to the position. My personal feelings on it is, if I was sheriff, I would dedicate a couple guys to Bill Hackard, as long as the chief didn't have a problem with it. We'd work jointly on this, and that way they could put together that team. And that's kind of my goal. I feel that the problem is here in Frankfurt, and we should start here by trying to eliminate it.
Got it. Now, you've also mentioned in the past that your mentality differs from the current administration's policies. Could you flesh that out a little bit for me? Because that's kind of a nuanced statement that I want to make sure that I fully understand.
I'm more proactive than the current sheriff, and I realize that it's an administrative position over there. I have an administrative position where I'm at too. I brought in, several people. I have a 9-member staff now out there, compared to what it used to be. It was a 2 or 3 man marshal position. Before that, it was only a 1-man marshal position. So I understand that the sheriff's role here is a lot more administrative. my focus is to make things available to the deputies where they have the ability to do the things that should be done by the crime reduction issues that plague this county. I just don't think that you can sit back and let crime play out and then send a car out there to take the call. I think there should be more proactive. I think those lights should be on those cars more than they're off. And that's how you get rid of problems, because the criminal's going to see that. They're already paranoid anyways, especially if they're drug users. And they're going to see that there's a huge presence here going on, you know. And do we want to operate in this community, or do we want to go someplace else? Mm-hmm. So Jeff, his time at Frankfurt, he was a detective over there for many years, and you know, people brought him cases, and he worked them. And I think that's the mentality. I don't think there's any real strong leadership over there to go out and do the things that I want to do. I think that he just kind of lets things play out, and lets the guys go out and wander around, basically.
Got it. So compare then the administrative role that you would play as sheriff to the administrative role you're currently playing with a 9-member staff in Kirklin.
Well, out there, I'm currently on patrol as well as operating the department. I'm still seeking out, you know, things that I can better the department, equipment, money, you know, because that's the nuts and bolts to it, to get things working and designate people for the right areas, you know, to eliminate the crime. I don't think that we should just sit idly by and rely on the taxpayers to fund the budget. I have a different take on that. I think that you should be seeking out all grants, much like I do now. You should look out for donations out there, because there's a lot of people that have money in this community are willing to give it to a police department. I've raised $4,000 cash just in a tiny little town like Kirklin. So I feel that if I was sheriff, I could raise, you know, 5-10 times that amount.
Got it. Now, another thing that I've heard you talk about is the military-grade equipment that you have, including transportation vehicles out in Kirklin. I know that some people have critiqued you for that, but perhaps you could explain the rationale behind that program, and also, is that something that you would want to implement countywide?
I would want to implement that countywide. The reason being, we just had, you know, some of the largest snowfalls we've had in recent years, and the sheriff has a little bit more broader authority than I do as a town marshal. So saying that, he has the opportunity to get a lot more equipment than I do. So if you were to get a lot more equipment, you could give a few of these pieces of equipment when you know these storms are coming in, to say some of the other volunteer fire departments, some of the other local police departments in this community, and everybody would probably be on the same page, and they'd have the ability to go out and save people and rescue people, because we all know that people's either coming to and from work and they get stuck in these situations. I don't think that it's so much people just getting out and wandering around trying to get into problems. We have those, but most people are coming to and from work trying to get home, and they ended up getting caught in this mess. And I myself with the Kirkland Fire Department, when I was on duty during the storm, the first one we had, I made 23 rescues with the fire department. There was a total of 35 rescues altogether. So we were the only township fire department and police department that was mobile, that could go out into the county. We went on Boone County. We rescued 2 guys over there stuck on 47 for 5 hours.
Wow.
So because Boone County couldn't get their equipment out there to get them.
And what kind of vehicles are we talking about here?
I've got 2 Hummers right now, and I got 3 6x6s. And what those are, they're 5.5-ton trucks, and one of them in particular just has the single wheel ability, and that thing slides through snow like butter. I mean, if there's road underneath that thing, it will go through it. I was punching through 5-6 foot drifts, 20 and 30 yards long, and sometimes they were higher than that. They were coming over the hood. So I think, you know, being able to farm some of this stuff out to the other communities here in town, because they don't have access to it, strictly law enforcement. and say Kevin Myers out the highway department, you know, one of their vehicles gets stuck or something like that, you can go out and get those guys. I pulled out 2 state highway trucks so we can get them back on the road. I pulled out 2 fully loaded semi-tractor trailers. So that was over 55,000 pounds that one of those vehicles pulled out. So military grade vehicles, I mean, everybody knows that the United States military is #1, and they have the best stuff, and now it's being, you know, out to us.
Now, if this winter is so much more severe than Indiana winters normally are in this area, is it worth the investment required to get these vehicles?
I think that it is, because they're giving these vehicles to us, not to mention, after 13 months, like the 6x6 vehicles, those would become, say if I was a sheriff, those would become county property. So the county would have the ability to either sell those vehicles, or they could give them to like county highway, they could put V plates on it or something like that. But you figure those vehicles were $70,000, $80,000 vehicles when they're brand new, and they only got 10 to 20,000 miles on them. The market value is anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 a piece. So I know the county's running a shortfall, but if they got 10 of those trucks and they sell them for $10,000 each, that's $100,000 that now the county has. And that's just in vehicles. That's not counting generators and stuff like that I've been able to accumulate.
And what's the name of this program?
It's called VISO.
Okay, very cool. Another question I wanted to ask, Kirklin is a town with a population of less than 800, whereas Clinton County as a whole has more than 33,000 people. What differences do you expect to find if you do make that transition from town marshal to county sheriff?
Well, because I have worked in the sheriff's office before, I was a county deputy there in 2007. I worked in the jail when they first built the new jail. I started out, I trained at the old jail. I was hired by Paul Underwood, and we transitioned over to the new jail. Worked there for 5 years, and so I know some of the history and how things are done throughout the community. I know how to streamline things. I know there's some the areas where there's a little bit of waste. There's manpower that's not being utilized correctly. You've got guys doing the same position over and over and over, and if you streamline those, I think that you get a better quality of a department if you do something like that. Come in, and if you work those positions, you kind of know what to look for, and I believe I have.
Got it. Now, I also want to go back to a comment that you made earlier about patrolling Interstate 65. I believe, if I understand correctly, you mentioned that you may get lucky if you are patrolling Interstate 65, whereas if you patrol in Frankfort, you know that you are intercepting the drugs that are affecting the local population. Do you then disagree with the initiatives that have been pushed by the current administration, both on the city of Frankfort level and also at the county? Is that something you would seek to change, or would this crime reduction task team be in addition to the current patrolling on the interstate?
I would want to change it because, like I said before, I feel the problems are here, the drugs are here, the money's here, the criminals are here, and that's what we need to concentrate on. I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to intercept money, because money's going to help you fund a lot of different things. But I feel there's other avenues to seek out and get money through different types of grants, people donating money towards a cause, and I don't think that we should be out on I-65 currently. I think once we start mopping up the problems around here, we lead to intelligence that would lead us out to I-65 to intercept some vehicles, then I think that would be the thing to do. But there's money being transported through this community as well, and I just think that we need to concentrate on Frankfort and Clinton County before we go out to the interstate. I mean, I'm all about drug interdiction, don't get me wrong. That's my hallmark. That's what I love to do. But it's right here, it's right in front of us. And I feel that if we put something together here, then we can knock it out and make Frankfort a better community.
Are there any other issues that you think the people of Clinton County should know going into this election about the way that the local government works, or any specific obstacles that lie ahead?
Well, I think we're all in a money crunch. I mean, that seems to be the topic. I read the Frankfort newspaper, the Times, pretty regular. And when you're looking at not only county government, but the city government, just not taking in what they used to be. And I feel that's part of what's going on in the community. People are leaving this community. People aren't looking to plant jobs in this community. It hasn't been looking the greatest for anybody for the last few years, and anywhere for that matter. I'm not just singling out Frankfurt. I know they just landed another company out here, so that's a good thing. And I think that you've got a mayor currently that's seeking to promote Frankfurt, build Frankfurt, and I think that we need a sheriff to do the same. And that's what I'm about. I want to make this community the best in the state. I want to make the county the best. I want people, when they drive through this county, they're going to be like, I'd like to live here, you know? And I think that by reducing drugs, crime, illegal immigration is another problem in this community, and I don't think there's enough time devoted to eliminating